There it is. It's official. We are live. Things look a little different right now. There's an extra face on the screen. Welcome, Lauren.
Yep.
Hi.
Lauren Goldstein. Is that how you say the last name? Welcome, Lauren. This is episode number 33 of Practical AI. And we have a special guest with us here today. She's joining us to go over the news. And obviously, we do that every beginning of the show, where we break it down what happened in the AI world this week with your human translator, Olga, your technical genius, Chris, who knows all the technical stuff.
I'm here to confuse you.
Lauren is also, she's an operational genius who is also going to chime in today with the takes on the news. And then we're going to do a deep dive on this new hire that's becoming super hot recently. And
the job of the year.
Has been doing some of that work with her clients. She works with 7 to 8 figure CEOs and helps them get back their time. And she also helps them actually own the business, not just work in the business. And so maybe Lauren can tell us more about that. But we're so lucky to have Lauren on today. So thanks for joining us. And then at the end, we'll talk about the funding, what's happening in the AI world this week, who's got the money, what does that mean, and all that fun stuff. So are you guys ready to go?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So while I'm sharing the screen, Lauren, why don't you tell us, how did you get into what you're doing? What's your
what are you doing?
Oh my God. What am I doing? Well, this is a great question. So yes, my name is Lauren Goldstein. My clients lovingly nicknamed me the Biz Doctor because actually what I do is I come into businesses and I help business owners who are in the messy millions of success, the people who have built that successful business, but somehow are feeling a little more trapped than they should. So I help them have the freedom that they started their business for with the right teams and operations and help them successfully transition from operator to owner. So they run the business instead of the business running them. And
so they get to play a lot of golf.
Oh my gosh, yes. I could talk about that. Yeah.
That's what Chris cares about.
You can go down that rabbit hole about golf. I just joined a little golf league on Tuesday nights. But yeah, it's so they can play golf. They can do the world is their oyster. The point is that so many of my clients started a business to solve a problem and then woke up one day and they were like, where's the freedom that I actually started this for? Where I'm making an impact, but I'm just so busy.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of fun. And this is a much longer story that I talk about on my podcast, The Biz Doctor, but I actually started in the medical field. I was in pediatric neurology and epilepsy research. Was a totally different life, 16 plus years ago. I've had my business for 15. And I just realized that doing what I was doing in the medical field and being a doctor was exponentially more difficult because insurance companies make patient care very difficult. And it was more them dictating patient care than us. And I said, I got to do something different. And I had no plan B, which is very type A, right? I had my plan. That was my plan. I burned all the ships. So then when I left, luckily I had a mentor who said to me, you have the thing that I can't teach people, which is the ability to distill tremendous amounts of information into what matters, AKA diagnosing. And he said, and you are a brilliant problem solver. And he said, those are the things that business owners need. You should be a consultant. And I asked him if he'd done drugs because I specialize in tiny humans. I don't specialize in business. I took 0 business classes in school. And he's like, business is easy. I can teach you business. What I can't teach you is what you naturally do. And you should do this. And guys, this was 15 years ago when it was like the Wild West. There were not independent consultants. You worked at the Big Four, trying to get paid. You had to do wire transfers and bank transfers and checks. Starting a business today is so much different than it was.
It is. And then now with AI, it looks like you're really embracing it, not just for yourself, but with your clients. Yes. And then Chris talks about all the time that he loves AI because finally he's got somebody who's appreciating what he's been preaching about all this time. And now it sounds like you are in the same thing because AI takes a lot of data and makes it whatever you want to make it out of it, right? So, which I am really pumped to talk about, because we're going to talk more about your business and how you help clients and like what do you. I'm just very curious about the trends you're seeing, because let's cover the news. Let's try to do in like 15 minutes, and then we'll dive deep and like kind of talk about what's happening. So the biggest kind of overarch of the news this week is they call this the anticipation economy. And this is like a really good explanation of kind of how I understand this. A lot of companies today, they're kind of like those people who come to casino and they put all of their money, all of their chips on the table before any hand has been dealt, and they're just betting it all before they even know before the dealer showed anything, and then they have no idea, is it going to be a good hand, a bad hand, whatever that is, but they're betting it all in, and they think magic is going to happen. So they're calling this anticipation economy, where all these companies now, the big ones, are making these moves, kind of like that irresponsible moves, right? Like if somebody does it at the casino, we're like, you're crazy. If somebody does it in the business, they're like, people are like, are they actually, like, are they smart?
Maybe they're onto something.
Maybe they're onto something. Maybe we don't know something. We don't know. So the first thing on the anticipation economy is Meta is planning to slash 20% of their staff. That just came out on March 14th.
That's 16,000 people.
Through gossip, of course. They're planning, they're doing their final, paperwork or whatever. Meanwhile, this telephone, whatever, the gossip thing made their stock go up by like 3%. So clearly the stock market loved it. And that's why this leak happened, just to see how they're going to react. So yeah, 16,000 people they're laying off. They are saying to offset $600 billion in AI infrastructure spend by 2028. So they're using AI as an excuse. We don't know if it's real or not, because they could be overhired, and now they're trying to compensate for that. But that's the first news of the week. So they haven't fired them yet. They're just creating this kind of the stock going up a little bit.
Expectations and seeing how the market's going to feel about this.
Right. So that is what the anticipation economy is all about.
Well, I want to say something about this. I read this and it got under my skin, because we just saw Block cut 40% of its workforce and its stock went up like 23% or something, or 18, 23%, something like that, in like the hours after the report. Huge bump for them. There's a little buried lead in this, that they've rehired some of the positions that they furloughed, because they, it's an opportunity for them to cut the fat, so to speak, and then figure out what was essential. And then they can go patch in like, oh, okay, we really do need this. And they can kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
There's not too many opportunities where you can cut a bunch of people if you've overhired, like it looks really bad. But this is a way to do that and wrap it up in a stock win. And so now the playbook has been set. So everyone's going to do this. Everyone's going to do this. Every big tech company is going to lay off as many people as they can. And then they're going to, patch it back in when they figure out, oh, actually, we had some essential roles here. But there's another part of this that really was getting on my nerves. And that is, all these big tech companies overhired during COVID.
They did.
It makes sense. Like, it doesn't make sense. What about COVID made it that you would want to expand your workforce by 50%? What was the signal there that I missed? Like, it's not like there was more output. What the hell happened?
Well,
now they're all cutting. Do you have thoughts on that, Lauren?
I do. I mean, I have so many thoughts about this. I think the overinflated hiring actually started several years before COVID, maybe 3 to 4 years before that, because there was just so much dry powder. Everybody had all of this free money. And so people were just adding to the headcount, bloating teams in such an, I think, unproductive way.
Yeah.
That then when the shit hit the fan, then suddenly they were like, oh gosh, our profits are suffering. We've got a lot of redundancy. How can we lay off and do like the silent layoff where it's like, hey, if you're not coming back to work. And so I feel like it was a long game.
And they're using now AI. This is the tricky part. We don't know how true AI is versus not AI. Like, they're just, who knows? But the stock market loves it.
I want one more point about that. So I think you nailed it, that there had been, it's kind of a thing that metastasized over a long period of time. But why did it even happen to begin with? And I think the dry powder thing is real. They definitely had excess resources, but it still doesn't mean you're going to go in and just butcher your profit per employee.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't really make sense. But I see now that I'm like reverse engineering this based on these slashes that everybody's doing now for AI. It's making the stock go up. It's a copycat game. So if one person or one of these companies hires on, 10,000 new people and their stock goes up because I guess the market, looks at that and says, oh, it looks like they're going to make some big moves, and their stock goes up, well, then everyone else is going to do the same thing. So you get this inflationary thing that's a copycat deal. And then obviously that's dumb and based on nothing, but it caused the numbers to go up for a while. So the CEOs were on board.
But,
I think it probably is that stupid. That's my point.
But here's the reality check, you guys. So this week, Morningstar, PR Newswire, they had the study released of 1,000 plus executives and found out that roughly 90% froze or reduced hiring expecting AI gains, back to that expectation economy. But only 2% tied those cuts to real proven AI implementation. So they're talking about 30-to-1 ratio of anticipation to proof. So 90% froze or reduced hiring, but only 2% actually tied those cuts to real proven AI implementation that they actually see, which is kind of going back to our deep dive we're doing later today. Like most companies, let's cut. Wait, what did we cut for? Oh, we need those people back.
We just want to cut.
Well, I think it actually has a deeper symptom.
Go for it.
In my opinion. So I think that what we're seeing is the intersection of vanity metrics and what actually moves business. So I think a lot of the headcount explosion was the unintended consequence that growth equals adding people to your headcount. Because a lot of businesses, and I see this with my clients, they forget that revenue is a lagging metric. They forget that headcount shouldn't necessarily be the first thought when creating leverage and profitability. And so they're looking at metrics that the stockholders like. They're looking at metrics that our egos like, but they're not actually looking at the metrics that will matter when shit hits the fan. And so Warren Buffett says it really great. Like when the tide goes out, you'll see who's been swimming around naked. And so all of this makes a lot of sense to me because we were chasing metrics to prove that we were growing, to prove that we were committed to growth instead of actually asking, do we need to grow? Like that's one of the questions that I ask my clients is, okay, why do you want to get to 15, 20, 30 million? Is it a number? Is it a feeling? Is it a lifestyle? Is it like, what is it? And most of these businesses that are laying off tens of thousands of people don't have that North Star of why are we growing? Are we growing just for growth's sake instead of actually looking at how can we create a more effective, high performing, lean and mean business that just churns out profit?
I love that. I got to put us on a quick aside because I want to ask you about this. So like the companies you've been dealing with where you ask that exact question, let's say it's a $20 million company.
Yeah.
Are they trying to grow because the CEO just has this idea that the numbers need to go up? Are they funded and they feel like they have to like perform? Like what's the patterns that you've noticed?
So I don't work with PE or VC backed businesses. I only worked with bootstrapped, like you own your business, small business, because for me, PE and VC backed businesses have counterintuitive motivations, right? Like a business owner wants to build a legacy, make a difference. PE, VC, sure, they want to make a difference too, but the difference is in their sale and
they want to
their
charge
ROI.
$15 for a burger.
Correct. So when I look at the trends of why are we growing, a lot of it comes down to, I just thought that was the next step. Like we made 10 million. Why not make 20? But a lot of the work that I do is, sure, we can increase revenue, but what if we actually just made the business better, made it more profitable, so you didn't have all of the stress of growth, all those step costs, and you had more money in your pocket?
Yep. Like you got a $10 million business, you're only keeping 1.5. What if you had a $10 million business, you kept 3.5?
Right. Exactly.
Why is that not good enough?
I mean, I think it's the ego. I mean, I think there's a lot of things.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I like that the statistics are showing from the survey this week about the 2% that they actually have proof of how AI is helping them versus 90% vibe firing. I'm coining this phrase. So another piece of news is Elon Musk admitted this week that XAI was built wrong. So I like Elon. He just kind of like, yep, it was built. We did not build it right. We're going to rebuild it from foundation. 9 out of 11 of their co-founders already departed, not just this week, over the last, whatever, couple months. And it's interesting that even a company with unlimited money in Elon Musk's name can skip the execution part, right? Going back to the execution and like what's important. Building fast matters. And I think that's what happened in the last couple of years with all those AI companies and others. Like they build really fast. But now what matters is actually building right becomes more important.
What a concept.
And so he's actually on the hiring spree. He hired guy from Cursor, which is it's how to describe that company? They're what? They're
a vibe coding.
Right. App. So he poached that.
Vibe
I mean, he's been poaching people left and right. So we don't know what this reset means, but I think if a big company like XAI is kind of saying, hey, we didn't do this right, what does that mean for other companies, right? And maybe when you're a smaller company and you have access to all the AI tools and people like Lauren and others, like you actually have an advantage because you have a lot faster ramp up to rebuild and make a difference and not count on people. What do you think about it?
I mean, I have always said that agility and speed win out. I think a lot of businesses get in trouble when they have what I call business barnacles, where they have so much that they have built that they haven't culled, that then they have trouble turning the ship. And by the time they turn the ship, the wave has already passed.
Yeah.
And
like
so
Titanic.
So good.
Exactly.
And it's just like, whoop, too late.
Well, I mean, the XAIs of the world have a unique challenge. So like XAI, OpenAI, Anthropic, they have, theirs is a question of positioning, and specifically, how do people want to use AI? Not what are we putting out there for them? How do they actually want to use it? And I think that question of how do people want to use AI has shifted a lot since January because of OpenClaw. Like the vibe coding thing obviously blew up huge, basically since March of last year. XAI started just before that, so they may have had a game plan and not been able to pivot totally to something like that, or may not have been convinced. But now it's sort of like, this is what people want, so this is what it's going to be.
Right.
The OpenClaw thing has changed the nature of the interactions. We call it on here, we say going beyond the prompt. It's like you've got a chat agent now. It just feels different. It feels like we personify these things, give them names and stuff. It's just a different manner of operating with them. And I think XAI probably didn't have their finger on that pulse directly. They're like, oh crap, we see it's now going to be this. We got to do this.
But so, I also admire that he actually took. I mean, he's like, yep, we did it wrong. We're gonna redo it. Like instead of just like making excuses or whatever. That's super hot. Like taking accountability. For that. Love him or hate him. Again, we're not taking sides here. I just think
accountability's hot if you're worth $500 billion.
Well, I mean, sure.
I think there's a couple, if I can add, there's a couple of things here that I think are really important to just highlight. I think he's showing something that most business owners and people who are building are afraid to admit, which is like, you got to fail forward. And if it's not working, it's okay to start over. I think there's this fallacy of sunk costs. Like, we've come this far, we just have to keep pushing. And what he's saying is, no, like, this isn't working. We have to do something different. And so I think that's going to give a lot of other people permission to do similar things, because I think businesses get in trouble when we feel like we've gone so far down the path that we can't come back.
Yeah,
totally.
And then I think the other really fun thing that I'm talking about with my clients is the cognitive disconnect between AI and human beings, and thinking actually of your AI agents as humans. I'm not saying they are humans. Don't come after me with pitchforks. But what I'm saying is, I am notorious for saying, if you're getting shit results out of your AI stuff, you're probably getting shit results out of your team, because the same leadership management like properties and best practices to get good results out of AI will also help you get good results out of your team. So it's almost like the best training ground to help you be a more effective leader.
Yeah.
I love that. It's so true, because it's all about defining processes
true.
and procedures, and like having specific roles to fill, specific functions to fill, very clear delineations. People work better with this. Computers work better with this. Shocker.
All right, let's keep going. We got a lot of news to get through. Hold on.
Now the rest of this news is boring. We're going to go real fast.
So to sum this part up, practical application for y'all watching. If you're a founder or manager, audit one workflow, and then can you actually prove that AI made it faster, better with numbers? So if you can make that proof, like you are not in that 90% that are guessing, you're actually in the 2% that are seeing results. Start one thing at a time. Lauren is going to tell us more about that later. But it's just like, you don't have to get overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, what do I do with all this AI? It actually is it's a lot more simple than we think it is. So,
there's a secret here though too. Getting the results is fun.
It is so much fun. I'm addicted. Anyway, moving on to infrastructure and model wars. So what happened this week? Nvidia announced about their 1 trillion AI factory in space. So Jensen Huang teases Vera Rubin chips and space-based data centers. So it's cool because Nvidia has to come up with some other ideas of how they can keep expanding their market presence, because they're already super high capped already, something crazy. So they need to come up with more and more crazy ideas. So the space-based data center was something he talked about. So I
Makes
thought that
sense. It's cold in space. I get it.
No tip cooling.
That's very interesting. And then he also gave a lot of kudos to OpenClaw. He called it the Linux for agents. And Chris, you know more about the whole open source and what that means. But Nvidia launches.
It doesn't mean anything, actually.
OpenClaw and NemoClaw to own the open source agent OS layer. So what is Linux for agents mean for you? Like,
so he's saying it's
translated from the technical to human.
Yeah, basically a native operating system for something like OpenClaw, making it easier, making it more native, making it part of the like, this is like an expected thing that we want now. Let's have an operating system that basically integrates this, where this layer is baked into the cake. So people want this, is what everyone's trying to roll out. And so, you guys have both been through the OpenClaw setup. Imagine if that had all the necessary plugins and stuff already built in there, like it's all ready to go.
That is
easier to manage. Maybe it doesn't all have to be directed through the terminal, through command line. Something that's made a little bit more friendly for humans. It's a new way, a different way for computers to operate. A different layer of compute being added to the computer, literally.
Well, but so he said that it's fastest growing open source project, which obviously we know it is. And they also are coming out with their own product for enterprise, like OpenClaw for enterprise, that has more security for enterprise features. So they're definitely riding this horse. And it's interesting to hear that he compares that OpenClaw, like, would it become the standard of how the internet works? Because I love my OpenClaw. It does things for me, and none of the other LLMs or anything else are doing that currently. So
I'm convinced agents are going to be fetching all data, fetching all anything. Why would you go and like I use this analogy now for the second time, but we have a teenage son. He's not going to type in a website. He's not going to do that. There's no way. I can't picture him doing that. He'll ask a chatbot, get me this information. Right. He's not going to go type in whatever.com and go like find information.
Well, you're going to love the news that are coming out then. I don't know if you saw what Google did this week.
I did.
OpenAI, moving on quite quick. OpenAI drops GPT 5.4 and Mini and Nano, ultra-fast, cheap models for affordable high-volume agent workflows. They keep dropping things, which is great. I haven't tried it. Lauren, are you OpenAI girl or are you Claude girl? What's no judgment. We'll love them all.
Actually, I'm the best tool for the task girl. So I think OpenAI is a great Swiss Army knife, but I spend probably 85% in Claude Code or Claude.
Okay. Well, I'm very curious why. So Kit, tell us why. What do you think?
So In my experience, I think Chat GPT is, like I said, a great Swiss Army knife, good at creating content and knowing so much about me because I've been using it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Where Claude, I think, does a better job is its reasoning, its thinking. If I need like a really good deep thinking partner, that's where I'm going to Claude. And then I'm going to Claude Code when I actually want to build. Like, I am so excited about the thing that I built this week because I do this once a quarter. It's called a Blackout week, where essentially I black out my entire calendar and I just get shit done in my own business. Because most business owners get so stuck in the fulfillment, they forget to work on their business. So this whole week, I'm just like, hey, this is the backlog of things that are half done or like an idea. Let's just go build them. And so with Claude Code, like I've just been building all week and it's been so fun.
Well, can you tell us what you built, or like
Yeah.
it's a secret?
It's not a secret. It's
okay.
Not a secret. I mean, I built so many things, but the thing I think I'm most excited about, which is probably a huge pain for most business owners. So I'm very blessed that most of my business comes from referrals. So people that have either worked with me, referral partners, or repeat clients. I am shit at actually like doing business development and lead gen. Like as you might not know this based on how I'm showing up here today, but I'm actually an introvert. I love being behind the scenes. It's a little bit tricky for me to like put myself out there and do the biz dev, lead gen, all that stuff. And the hardest part for me is like, where should I spend my time? If I only have an hour, this is my friend Kelly Roach's Miracle Hour philosophy. If I only have an hour to work on my business and move my business forward, who do I need to talk to? And so I went through this week and I did a deep dive into what I call the gold mine, my emails, my calendar, my LinkedIn network, all of that, to find the people who I'd had conversations with, consultations with, who were good referral partners that I had followed up with a couple times, but then they just kind of fell to the wayside. Yeah. And then I built an entire relationship ecosystem. So, and I did all this with Claude Code. So we thought through the whole thing. I use Airtable for my CRM. We built out a Google app that integrates from my Google Workspace to add straight to Airtable. I have a couple of agents, one that's surfacing all of my Airtable, looking for who I should reach out to. Then they go and research that person. Then they craft some outreach. Then they produce a report for me. And then I tell them what actions I've taken, and it goes and it logs an interaction, and it redoes that every week. And then the other sides of that is, I might forget to add somebody to my CRM, but what it does is it sweeps my inbox every week, and it goes and it looks for people that it can tell I'm building a relationship with and adds them. And then the other part of this bookend is anyone that's added, it goes and it does what we call enrichment. So it'll go and fill in the gaps that I haven't filled in, whether it's their LinkedIn URL or their website URL, or maybe things that we have in common, or their bio, or whatever it is. And so it creates this ecosystem of building what my friend Selena Sue is so good at, which is rich relationships, because your network is your net worth. And I have a huge network, but I'm shit at actually like really cultivating and developing it, because there's always other things that I could be doing. And so I sat down with Claude Code and I said, here's my challenge. Here's where I want to go this year. Let's build out this vehicle. And it was like, I think in terms of me touching Airtable, like, let's just say this took me 3 hours. It took me more than 3 hours, but let's say it took 3 hours. I was in there doing stuff in Airtable for maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Everything else, it was building.
Claude Code
it's so great. Like, this just would not have been possible even 6 months ago.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No. That's the key thing.
Well, and if you're open to it, maybe we can have it back in a couple of weeks and you can demo and show how it looks like, because I think what you just talked about is goldmine for anyone who does business development. And spoiler alert, pretty much everybody who has a business has to do that.
Right?
So if you're open to that, like, I love seeing practical applications, because that's what the show is all about. But that's a cool project. So I'd love to have you back if you come back. But if you like us. But let's let's get back to the news. So this OpenAI thing, basically what it's really good for, it's for those of you who are running agents or high volume coding workflows, the cost will drop dramatically. So Mini handles most of what the full model does for a fraction of the price, and Nano is for the stuff that doesn't need to be smart, just fast and cheap. As long as you figure out how to build the workflows and how your agent goes to different ways, what needs to be smart, what needs to be stupid. I'm using my OpenClaw on Sonnet 4.6, and I love it. I mean, you know, I don't burn through my limits as fast.
I think Codex auto switches on between Mini and Nano, so Codex already is gonna auto switch tasks based on what it's trying to do.
Oh, it does.
Code lookups and other stuff. Yeah,
I gotta play with that. Last time I tried to change the model, I used Grok, and I was so frustrated, and I couldn't wait to get back in the.
She lobotomized her OpenClaw.
Oh my god, it was half of my day. I just was pulling my hair out. Anyway, so that's the model update, you guys. So anything you have about this before I move on?
Well, I just want 52 blackout weeks a year. I
mean, if you do it right, you just need one a quarter. Like literally, I've done more in 1 week than I've done in the past 90 days.
That's cute. I need 52.
All right. Well, let's talk about the high stakes legal and military. Again, we are not taking any sides. We're just reporting the news over here. And so what happened is we've talked about this over the last couple of weeks. Anthropic dropped out of the government contract. OpenAI filled in the defense gap. And now they signed the deal via AWS. So now the AWS and OpenAI are helping the government and kind of doing what they need to get done. That was interesting that AWS now is becoming more and more public with what they're doing. But I guess
look who shows up everywhere: Nvidia, AWS, OpenAI. Any void. This is a new law in physics. If there's any vacuum left, OpenAI will fill this vacuum in the AI space.
So Amazon now is a delivery channel. And that's very interesting to see that, because AWS was very invisible for a while, and now they're kind of in the news, I guess.
I mean, but it makes sense because they're the #1 supply, like they're the big shark in supply chain. So this makes sense that now they're doing physical and digital.
Absolutely.
AI is about data.
And who knows what that will do to our Amazon delivery? Maybe we'll see some improvements there. I don't know how much better can it be, but
probably drones.
I mean, that's probably the next. Speaking of drones, so the U.S. is deploying AI for drone autonomy and decision support in the ongoing Iran conflict, and LLMs and computer vision are being used in active military operations. So now AI is leaving the demo and vibe coding world and entering life and death decisions. And so warehouse
vibe droning.
Robots,
vibe droning.
What? Oh my God. The same computer vision autonomy tech eventually trickles into civilian tools. So we'll see what happens. Warehouse robots, autonomous vehicles, security systems. The military test is first, and then everybody else gets it. But it's interesting to see how it's done in the war front.
Fun fact, Google Maps was first a military thing, and then it came out to civilians.
I should have known that. I didn't know that.
I mean, I am just like, and wasn't internet like something that government did in the beginning?
Well, in the 60s, they had a version of internet.
Right. So
it was not the same hyperlink document proposal that was later done by Tim Berners-Lee.
So that's what's happening right now in the real world. And then interestingly, that Britannica sues OpenAI over training data.
I didn't know. I read this. I don't understand this.
Okay. Is Britannica still around?
That's a great point. Let's start with that.
So here's what happened. Britannica, which owns Merriam-Webster, sued OpenAI for misusing roughly 100,000 articles in GPT training.
How do you misuse it? You just read it.
They're also flagging verbatim outputs and RAG-related issues. And so I think they just trained the models back in the day before it was like when it was a wild, wild west. And now Britannica is like, wait a second, that's not okay, because like that's their proprietary data, which I thought
the definition of a word is proprietary data.
I thought that the dictionary is like a public data, but I guess it's not. So, so what that means is more publisher lawsuits could mean higher training costs, restricted data, or changes to how models output information. And if you're relying on AI for content, the legal ground under you is shifting. So if they win and if it goes their way, what will happen to other training things and how they will shut them down and make them more closed off? Like right now, not everybody can get to Grok, right? You have to have APIs to get the information from X. So I wonder what's going to happen with like other things like that. But
I'm going to put on my cynicism hat.
Okay, go.
You're Merriam-Webster or Britannica. People's reaction is, wait, they're still around? You don't really have a future. So you're a cash grab. You're going to get
whatever like Blockbuster. So sad.
But maybe now they're thinking like maybe we can make a play where we can make some kind of money or monetization from LLMs.
That's what I'm saying. This is it, and then they're out the door.
Well,
what else do they got?
We'll see what happens on that. All right, moving on. So accessibility and creative tools. I love this part. Google Maps goes conversational. You know how you said, teenagers don't want to search any websites or whatever?
Yep.
So Google just added conversational AI queries to Maps, pulling from 300 million plus places, plus 3D route rendering with landmarks, rolling out in the US and India. I don't know why India isn't there, but I guess it's interesting. So you just don't download a new AI app. The AI just shows up inside something you already use. So basically what that means, and I haven't tested, but I think I should, I can just say, hey, I am driving to over here. I want a coffee shop that's cozy, has good vibes, and I can get some work done, so it has to have good internet. What do you have? And then it will show you what that is. Instead of you trying to show me on the map all the coffee shops, and then you go and review all the reviews. I don't know if I'm the only one who does that, but you just kind of go through and like figure out what the stars are and how many, if it's a restaurant, do I want to eat there on the way? Now
I need a majority of the patronage to be hipsters.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, this is amazing.
It is awesome.
So
I think I just want to talk about that for a hot second, because I'm seeing this with my clients where they think they're immune to AI because they're in person. They're like a coffee shop, a restaurant, etc. But I think this just proves the point that the way people are interacting with business, the way people are starting to get trained to search, it's not about if your business has AI in it. It's about how are you interacting and dancing with AI to stay relevant. Because if your social presence, if your map presence, whatever it is, isn't tuned in to these new ways of searching, then it's not because you don't have a great food or coffee or Pilates studio. It's because you're not dancing with AI in a way that it goes, oh, here are the signals that I'm looking for. I should recommend this. Yes. So I think this is a wave that's going to turn into a tsunami and catch a lot of brick and mortars off guard because they're not paying attention.
Yep.
It's almost like you listened to our previous episodes of Practical AI where Chris, that's pretty much all he talks about is how the websites and the businesses are not ready for this agentic way of doing things. And this is Chris's favorite topic.
It's about discoverability. And discoverability is about AI's ability to find you. It's not about humans because they're not the ones doing the hunting. Like, and so, I have to mention this, but people are like, oh, well, what percentage of people are doing that right now? It's a fringe minority who are actually using AIs to search for this right now. Yeah, this week. And then you'll blink and your entire city will be covered in bird scooters after the next South by Southwest, and the whole paradigm will have changed. Overnight.
Tsunami.
Well, to that point, sorry, Olga.
No, go.
It's not optional. Like I was so this kind of irritates me. I have Google on my phone, and so it tells me like the headlines, and I used to be able to click into it and it would pull up the news articles, but now when I click into it, which is what irritates me, it gives me an AI overview. I don't want an AI overview. I want to see the article that you push to my screen. And so it's about like you can fight it, but whether you're ready or not, it's going to happen. So why not be ready and at least have your eyes wide open so you can choose?
So I think you're on a good point. So for business owners, especially the retail, this piece of news right here, if you don't know that this just happened this week, you're going to be scratching your head very fast in a couple of weeks trying to understand why your traffic is dropped, because some other smarty pants, coffee shop or restaurants or other things who have figured that out, they already have their webpage geo optimized, and they have the FAQs and all of the stuff that agents care about, because Google Map just became super AI friendly, right, Chris? And like all those businesses that have their shit together, they will be getting business, and all of those who are not, they're just being like, well, what happened? You know?
Especially a place like Austin where you have a lot of new people moving there, discoverability matters even more. There's one real world example I can use here to attack the people who think this is probably not coming for them. Not attack, but you got to be aware.
Sorry, not
the coffee shop I love here in town. 5 years ago, they dropped phone numbers from their Google Maps listing. So they intentionally wanted to not be called in store anymore because it was interfering with their ability to serve customers. That was the excuse they gave. But here's the deal. I'm there all the time. I know everything about this store. I also know that I don't want to take my 2 kids there because it's a pain in the ass for me unless I know I can get what I want. I want to go buy a bag of beans. I want to see what beans they got in stock because I know it changes. I know which days they get it in. I need this question answered. The website doesn't do it. I just need somebody there in the store to say yes or no. I can't do that anymore. That is an impediment to doing business because there's no reason now in the age of AI that you can't have the AI answer the phone and also know the state of your physical inventory in a store where you don't have a lot of stuff. So instead of not having the phone call, which I understand why they got rid of it, but if this is you need to be thinking, oh, I need to reinstate this because I can answer common customer queries without taking time from employees at the point of sale. And this is the kind of thing that needs to be rethought because they made a modern decision to kill the phone, which I get.
You got to bring the phone back.
Have real world use cases for why I need it.
Bring AI back, or have a text AI. Text AI. I don't care. Maybe you can just text it. That's even better. Don't talk to anyone.
But that's a whole nother thing. Like because of AI, we can have real time inventory reports that customers can use.
Yeah.
But here's the good news: if you're listening to this and going, "Oh shit," sorry, now your show is now explicit.
It's fine.
Okay, great. Yeah. Like I don't know how to fix this. How to be AI ready on Google. Here's the hack, guys. You don't have to know. Just go ask the LLM and say, this rolled out. What do we do? Like, I think so many people are paralyzed because they're like, oh my God, this is happening and this is happening and this is happening. And they're overwhelmed and they feel chaotic. But really all you have to do is say, okay, what is the main problem that this creates in my business? Let me go ask the thing that's actually mining and getting all of this information about how it's going to work with this information so we can work with it. Don't try to outsmart the thing that's doing it.
Spoiler alert, they're very friendly and they're very helpful and they will figure it out. And I ask them a million questions.
You're a million questions per day.
You are out of questions for the day. But here's the practical application on this right quick. So if you have a business that's retail, open Google Maps and try asking a conversational question around your business or around the location, like where's a good coffee shop near so-and-so, and see what kind of answer it's going to give you. And then that should start giving you some ideas of like how far are you off the chart or on the chart. But don't sleep on this news because that's like Lauren said, it's a tsunami. So another piece of news, Anthropic normalizes 1 million token context this week. So what that means is basically I think this is a hallucination over here. It's Gemini AI should be on the Google Maps, not on the Anthropic part.
Yeah, exactly.
But my notebook LM is not perfect. So anyway, but on the Anthropic news, but what that means is, Chris is not going to like this, but it's for sloppy people who want to load up as much context as possible. That just became cheaper. And Claude just removed those breaks. The good news is you're going to get hooked on using a lot of information that you may not need to get some answers. The bad news, whenever they decide to switch that back and start charging you for context, you may have to be stuck in charging and paying more money later. But I will let the technical genius in the room talk about what's good or bad about this piece of news.
There's buried information here that people need to understand.
Of course.
Yeah, you can stuff a lot more into a million token context. You can stuff as much stuff in there. The whole Bible you can stuff in there. And then you can ask it some like philosophical, theological questions about the Bible you just stuffed in there. The problem is reasoning on that big a context is difficult. The more you give it to reason on, the worse job it does. Because reasoning, if you think about the way your brain works, it's a bunch of decision-making junctures. If this, then this. Choose your own adventure kind of stuff.
Right.
And when you get a huge context, that's happening a ton. So you get this wide array of potentially different outcomes, and the AI is just trying to pick the one that it thinks is most suitable to whatever you've asked. That is not a very accurate thing overall. No matter how this stuff goes, they can open that context to 1 billion tokens. I don't care. The bottom line is always going to be the same. You want to give it the tightest context you possibly can to answer questions accurately. Everything that we do that matters is in the end about like accuracy, precision, and getting a specific result. This with AI, we have this like idea of this like this infinity, this great infinity, this thing that encompasses everything somehow. That's not how it works. You know, reality gets distilled down to specifics.
Yeah.
And you know, like PageMotor, for example, with software, WordPress wouldn't fit in 1 million token context window. If you put it all in there, it wouldn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
PageMotor fits in a tiny window comparatively. It's 52,000 lines of code right now. So the AI can look at that in totality, reason on it, and do stuff with it and achieve very accurate results. WordPress, you can't even stuff the whole thing in there. What do you think you're going to do with that? So it's like, so the thesis there is that PageMotor is much better software. It's much tighter. It's architected the right way. Well, now look, AI can do a lot more with it. So this is sort of what everybody's figuring out over the next 5-10 years is that we need really good systems because then we can really use AI to cook with them. It doesn't matter how big that context window gets. That's just going to slow down people's ability to see the truth and to make the right decision.
Well, but then they can also turn the thing back on and say, "Whoop, nope, it's not going to be that much anymore."
I wish they would. It would force people to improve faster.
Well,
they ought to be seeking to make that window as small as possible.
They're
Can I add something real quick?
Oh yeah,
go.
So this is one of my favorite topics to talk about because I have the 7 C's for a high performing team and business, and the first one is clarity. And I think that one of the biggest reasons why you get shit results from your team when you're delegating, when you're doing whatever, as well as AI, is because your context isn't clear. And because the models are non-deterministic, so they're like predicting and looking at patterns and you'll never get the same answer twice. When you don't have clear context, and I recommend, like what I tell everyone is you need to create context documents. Like this is the context on who I am. This is my context on the services we serve. This is my context on my brand voice, etc. And use it as a knowledge base. Because to your point, if you don't have that context, then you're going to get results that are not really what you want because you haven't defined your definition of done and how you want it to interact with the information. But more than that, when you look at the context window, this is the equivalent of taking a book that's like 20 pages and it's reading every word to then you give it a 200-page book and now it's skimming.
Yeah.
And so to your point, when it's like trying to figure out which direction to go, the more dense you can be, the more concise rather you can be with your content and what it needs to reference and the definition of done, then that's going to make your outputs so much more rigorous and extraordinary, if you will,
and helpful
rather than good.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it. You nailed it.
So
every business needs to be distilled down into a series of documents, like you mentioned.
They're saying
all the processes, all the people, everything.
They're saying they did this for non-technical users. So we'll see what happens with this whole like context and what that means and the bad habits that people are gonna.
I have to say this. I know you're really trying to get through the news, but I have to say this. This non-technical user thing really irritates me because it's kind of like an EOS. It's like the visionary versus the integrator.
Right.
I don't give 2 shits if you're not technical. Like, don't make that like an excuse. Everyone can be technical. It doesn't mean you have to be a developer. It means that you have a mindset shift in thinking in systems. And so I think that sometimes we sell people short by saying you're a non-technical founder, a non-technical whatever, and then giving free pass to like not do the work to say, what is the output that I'm creating? What is the process or flow that I'm creating?
Well, look, we've clearly we've touched on something. Shanae over here chiming in. I love Shanae.
It's a good point.
Yes.
I have a different point of view. Most humans don't provide the right context. Give agents access to your conversations and let it determine the appropriate context. Many times, business owners say one thing in their offers and guidelines, but what they do in practice is very different. So,
I love that. I love that so much.
Good point. Good point too. This is why I love our discussions here, because there's pros and cons to everything. And then Ken over here says LLMs don't fail because they lack information. They fail because they lack judgment. So it's kind of like, so what do you think about that, Chris?
I've been trying to teach my my agent judgment all week. That's been my big challenge. So specifically, identifying circumstances where you need to make a judgment call and then giving it the information it needs to be able to make the right judgment call in those places. I never realized how nuanced and like it feels patternized to me when I do it, but my context is tremendous personally.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of experience. So I know that I will probably do this in this case, but when trying to train it, it's like, oh shit, like you really have to reconsider all these little things that you never really stopped to think about before. But that's sort of for any business operator, you kind of begin to realize like, wow, if I really am going to expand this or make myself less involved, have less ownership over me, I'm going to have to figure out a way to give my judgment to the machine or to an operator, and that's hard to do.
Yeah,
it's hard to do. That's why
hard to do with
Lauren Goldsmith gets hired.
Yeah. I also think to this point, this is a really funny story about they lack context and judgment. Somebody asked an LLM if they should drive or walk to the car wash that's like 3 blocks away. And the LLM was like, oh, it's only 3 blocks. You should walk so you don't have to worry about parking and all the things. Because it didn't realize that the point of a car wash is to wash your car.
Right.
So what, like, like really?
I need to wash my car. Shall I drive there or walk?
The user wants to get to the car wash.
Right. Oh, I just want you to get there faster and not worry about parking.
Oh,
that might be true in a lot of things, but not with a car wash.
The user is right. Parking in Los Angeles sucks.
That's funny. That's funny. All right, listen, we almost got through it. We have one more thing to talk about. Google, before we go to the meat.
I've got this thing pulled up. I was going to play with it here on the show, but maybe
with what? With what?
Google Stitch.
Oh, well, do you want to do it?
I don't know.
Why don't we just do it? Well, do you want to show how it looks? I mean,
I'll show what it looks like.
It's up to you. So Google Stitch, Google's in the news again with not just their maps, but their vibe coding sibling arrives. It's called the vibe design. So now everything is going to be vibe. That's when you know it's AI based. So what happened? Google launched Stitch with infinite canvas, voice edits, instant prototypes, and design.md file for rules. They're coining the term vibe design the same way we've been talking about vibe coding and vibe marketing. Why you should care. If you are a founder or builder, you no longer need a designer to go from idea to prototype. Describe what you want, get flows fast. This is the design version, kind of what we showed last week with vibe marketing. To me, it's interesting. I mean, Claude is good at design, but I guess Nana Banana with Gemini is my go-to to like, obviously, I mean, Claude can't even do the images. So it's interesting that they're coming up with vibe design, but what do you think, Chris?
Well, I think everybody's chasing this. Everybody's chasing this thing right now. Like vibe everything is the hot trend. It was established with Lovable becoming the first company to go from 0 to 1 million ARR in just 8 days. Fastest SaaS growth on record.
Yep.
Everybody's chasing the vibe design thing. I think this is a big reason why XAI refactoring the whole company. Everyone's chasing this. Generally speaking, Google's entries into these spaces have been a rung below
Catastrophic, you mean? Like not great?
Yeah, to put it nicely.
Yeah, put it very nicely. So this is the chance to actually win.
We'll see. I'm curious about it,
But what are you doing here? Tell us.
Well, I said, build me a website for a local coffee shop, add features that make it discoverable to AI so I can nail my local SEO strategy and remain relevant. I chose to make a web, I think they called it a web something. The other one was to make an app. Of course, those are the two things everybody wants to make, build an app or build this. So I just said, do that. It sent me to some interstitial screen, which made me click on basically the same thing twice. So I already don't like the UI. But it's supposed to spit out, a coordinated website, not just like a homepage. And it's the same thing with an app. It's like, the dashboard and all the stuff you need. It's supposed to do the whole picture. That's kind of
Can I say something that bugs me about this whole vibe coding thing?
Yes, tell us.
Okay, so as a business consultant and advisor, I've also sat in the seats of COO, whether fractionally or actually in a company as a COO. So my view is always 10 steps ahead, but also 5 steps behind of like, what are we doing to solve problems, not just once, but moving forward. And one of the things that I see tripping up most people who are vibe coding is they're not actually doing the pre-work to think through the problem that they're solving. They're like, ooh, it's a nice thing to have. But it's like, okay, but why? What problem is this actually solving in the business? What features does it need to have? What does this MVP need to look like? Because the thing that I tell my clients a lot when we're building out different systems or processes, I equate it to building a house. A lot of times when you're building a workflow, whether it's an AI workflow, an operational workflow, whatever, or even a new service, a lot of times we have this thought that it needs to be perfect and we're getting ready to get ready. And so I equate that to you've built a house, put in the plumbing and the electric, you've put up the walls, you've painted it, you've decorated it, you've done all the things, you've moved in, and then you turned on the lights and then you turned on the plumbing and you're like, oh shit, the second floor toilet is leaking behind the wall. Oh, the first floor kitchen outlet doesn't work. And now you have to like go take off the painting that you put there, tear into the wall. Instead of the way that you should be thinking about this is what's the most simplistic way we can get this out, that minimum viable product, to get flow and feedback and then be like, oh, we didn't think about this feature, or, oh, we need this to be solved. And so I think vibe coding is so powerful, but you have to do the pre-work of thinking through the actual workflow and features and not just created something that's really bloated that's unnecessary.
You might be Chris's new favorite person. So the way he builds things, like he'll take an hour for like a prompt to like make sure it's all like considers everything. I'm like, let's just do it, and then I will figure this out later. So like we have this 2 different things.
Yeah, my thing now is, I mean, honestly, the last 3 things I've done that were significant. One was a 3-hour and 30-minute prompt session, like an interview, kept refining the layers. The next one was about an hour and 45 minutes. And the last one I did was just about 2 hours. And it was just, I probably wrote on the 2-hour one, for example, that's the most recent one. So I kind of recall, I probably wrote about 1,100 words of direction and scripting, essentially over a series of prompts to kind of define the conditions and get it right. And that's how it was. So it was, it's a couple hours of that up front.
Yeah, but you also have a software that you built where all of your vibe coding actually can become software. So everything you build
significant context
actually becomes the real product. So like you've got that, or like land to put all these houses and foundation and everything on. So it's like not just some pie in the sky.
Yeah, if you're building, I call it naked vibe coding. If you're naked vibe coding, you have nowhere to stick anything.
He doesn't like naked vibe
coding. How's it going to be good?
Yeah.
I mean, yes. I think honestly, so I'm not saying creative entrepreneurs, like that's primarily who I work with, should suddenly be the systems ops people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying take your gift of ingenuity, of creativity, and either use AI or use someone on your team to think through it ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to spend, number one, less cost, less time, less frustration in the beginning, and it just works better.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So Chris, what do you see here? What came up?
Okay, so this is kind of a tool. Disclaimer: I don't use Figma, so I might be talking out of my rear end here.
It does kind of look like Figma.
To me, this feels like a Figma canvas. And so one of the benefits of this is you can see, for example, the color palette and the fonts and all that stuff. That's your kind of design system, we'll say. And then the first slide here to the right, we've got a homepage. So it shows the full homepage design. I can scroll down on this infinite design canvas they have and see that whole thing. Then they've got like an interior page that's essentially a menu for this cafe. Looks like a sort of an about.
So for all
like
of you
page.
For all of you watching, he just prompted this. This is a random prompt for a coffee shop that he just created. Like it's not a real deal, or
using Google Stitch.
He's doing vibe designing right now. This is what it is. He just kind of
So it's giving me a, here's what I like. It gave me a homepage template. It gave me sort of a menu template. This are things that be really relevant to a coffee shop. So this is great. It's given me a narrative template, which you often find on things like this, like, we do single origin beans, and we support these kinds of farmers, like whatever. I just want the coffee to be good.
Some people care about that.
And then they have looks like a story page that also includes directions. So it's a story page, but it's really an SEO page designed as a thing that's helpful for people. But I prompted it. I said, make sure it includes relevant, local SEO features. And so this is how it did that. It dressed this up as a customer facing thing, but really this is for the machines.
I love that.
What can you do with these files now? Can you use them?
Well, that's what I'd like to know. There's an export option, but it's not clear. What are my export options?
After this, I want to pull up Ken's most recent comment because I have a hot take on that.
Okay, hold on. Let's do it right now while he's doing this. With large context, it just amplifies that problem. Feels like the real skill now is knowing when to step in and override it. Okay,
so I have a story about someone I was talking to who owns a copywriting business who is slow to get on the AI machine, which to their detriment, right? And he was like, but I feel like if I use AI, I don't use my brain. And it's like, when I'm doing the work with my fingers, it's sharpening my skills. So my hot take on Ken's comment there is this absolutely is one of the most critical parts about being able to use AI in a next level way, is recognizing that you still are the expert. The institutional knowledge that you have is going to make whatever you're outputting even better. And so if you shift your mindset and think about this as you are the conductor, the orchestrator, the content creator, and allow it to be a thinking partner and push against your judgments. Like I will notoriously be like, I'm going to push back here. That is not XYZ. And then it'll be like, oh, you're right. And then we'll talk about it. When you think about it in the terms of like, I'm not outsourcing my intelligence. I'm not outsourcing my institutional knowledge and my wisdom from 15 years of doing this in 7- and 8-figure businesses. I'm just using this as iron sharpening iron. Yeah. It actually makes you better at your job. I actually think I've been thinking the last couple months since I got on this AI train, my critical thinking has been actually sharper, and I'm using my brain more. Like everything we talk about here, AI helped me do it, but I still use my brain to figure out what's real, what's not real, to verify this. And I'm this conductor of pulling all of this stuff, including visuals, right, and everything to it. But there's no way I could do this by myself without AI and still have a couple businesses and a family and 3 kids and other things. So like my analytical and critical thinking has been like through the roof. So 100. Chris, what do you have anything to say? Because I really want to get to the meat of the.
Yeah, let's get to the meat. I mean, I think.
What is your assessment so far?
Well, I'll get to that. I want to address the thing we were just talking about with the context. I mentioned last week, because we did a segment on Boring Marketer, and he said he doesn't even look at the code that the AI spits out. If you are building something that's to be used in a business, like a systems forward thing, like a thing that's actually going to be used, you need to understand the output of what's going on. because like I'm building, I probably have more defined guardrails working with this than 99.9% of people who are doing anything with AI right now. I have very tight guardrails. I have very tight specs. I have a whole lot of documentation and like examples to point to. Like, this is a really well-defined system that I'm working with.
Yeah.
I get the results, or I generate some results. I got problems for days. Like, if this thing comes back and says, here's 8 points about what we just did, I've spent an hour prompting this thing. I put a lot into this. I have to go and review all 8 points in like very detailed fashion, because any one of those points goes wrong, I'm going to get compounding problems the next time I run anything. So it's very critical to like maintain order as you go through these things.
I agree completely. And I want to pull up, if you can, Shanae's most recent comment, because she's talking about what I'm talking about with my clients every single day. Because when it comes to the future of AI, one person that, like one well-sourced, high-resource person with AI under them is doing the work of 5 different people. And it's like the next most important hire in your business or for yourself is absolutely understanding how to prompt and train AI agents, which I think is the meat and the potatoes of kind of what we're going to dive into next. So I love what you're saying, Shanae, about the real skill is that. And if you have kids too, don't train them for what the landscape of today looks like. Train them on how to be critical thinkers and how to look at AI in a way that they can create that leverage.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, how do you see agents? I see them as like the way AI actually does stuff. That's my definition of an agent. It's AI doing something. How do you see?
How do I see an agent? I mean, I think that's a really basic, good definition. An agent to me is, because I mean, there's a difference between AI assisted and AI workflow and a truly agentic solution. And so for me, an agent is anything that's getting done that I don't have to touch.
Okay. All right.
So did you guys talk about Shanae's comment right quick here?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because she made a good point. And I think that's really good that you asked what agent actually means, because that is a very wild thing. Like, I have agents. I'm like, what does that mean to you? You have agents. Like, tell me what they actually do,
Well,
they don't do anything.
Well, I think we're calling a lot of agents workflows.
Yeah.
So the difference between like AI assisted is you're manually prompting it to get a result. A workflow is basically a triggered thing that then something happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I think an agent, even though I said it's doing something that I don't have to touch, a true agent is where it has the reasoning, the critical thinking, and it's actually looking at a whole skill set and doing the work, versus a workflow is, in my opinion, X happens, Y happens.
Yeah.
Versus this is the problem that we're solving. This is your job. Go do this to the best of your ability based on the skills that I give you, based on the context that I give you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, let's move on, because I really want to get to the meat of this. Like, we've never spent this long on news, but we also I feel like we got into so much discussion, and this is why I love the show. Is I'm constantly challenging myself of like seeing the big picture and how it applies to me and my business and my clients and what I'm creating. So thanks for being a good sport on this, and doing this.
I probably got us off track. So
no, you're all good. So let's get into the meat of the discussion. So we had this is the tweet that started it all. I'm going to pull it up on the screen right quick. I don't know if, I think everybody knows Cody Sanchez at some point. She is this lady here in Austin who started Contrarian Thinking a long time ago, and now she basically has a media company, and then she also is teaching people how to buy boring businesses and basically like kind of how to win in this new age. So she is. Oh, I'm not. Okay, this is Chris. I'm gonna remove yours.
You can remove me.
Okay. So she wrote this tweet: best money I've ever spent as CEO as an internal AI transformation hire. He doesn't care about title. He just wants to ship. And he goes across your entire org, sales, revenue, HR, apps, tech, and kills stupid manual processes. Such an underrated unlock. I have since hired 2 more. So she posted this 4 days ago. This thing has 700,000 views and 322 comments. So clearly she kind of hit the nerve with a lot of people on this. And then that sent me down this rabbit hole of what is because I hear this happening. I talked to Lauren a couple of weeks ago when I first met her, and that's what she's helping her clients kind of have this AI transformation that starts with them, right? And kind of how to drive this. And I thought, why don't I do a deep dive? Because I love doing deep dives. And I'm going to go and research and see what's actually happening with this AI transformation. This is, we talk about all the jobs that people are losing. This is a new job that's emerging, a new title that's emerging. And they don't even have one title. It's like there's all kinds of different titles. And so that's what kind of inspired me to go down this rabbit hole. So why don't we go through this little deep dive? And then, Lauren, I'd love to hear your thoughts about kind of what you're seeing is happening, with you and kind of what you're seeing over there. So this is all right. Can you guys see this?
Yeah, you hit Command plus a couple times. Well, now we're on the graphic, but I thought you were trying to show the tweet, but we'd already done that.
Yeah. Can you see this?
Yeah, hit the play button.
All right. Better?
There we go. Perfect.
Great. So, connective tissue of 2026. So we're going to be talking about the AI transformation specialist. And this is the playbook that my AIs and I created for hiring, scaling, and deploying AI transformation specialists. So this is the tweet that I talked about, kind of what Cody, put out there. And basically, we all know that companies are drowning in manual work while paying for AI tools nobody uses. Executives are making hiring cuts based on vibes, not results. Earlier today, we talked about that 90% of executives froze or reduced hiring expecting AI gains. We also talked about the 2% tied to those cuts to real proven AI implementation on the 2%. 70% of employees currently, and this is based on Perplexity, Grok, and all of the other research that I've done, 70% of employees admit they never use AI at work, and 53% of users hide it, fearing it makes them replaceable, which I'm like, it's so counterintuitive because you want to show off that you use AI, but I guess mentally some people don't want to talk about that they use AI because they think that's going to replace them versus brag about it and show that they are really valuable to the company. So anticipation and tool spending. So companies have all this AI tools and all this AI spend, but actual ROI is teeny tiny, right? So that's kind of why it's such an amazing setup for this transformation hire, because we can't be blaming the language models. 63% of AI implementation failures have nothing to do with technology. It's 80% the people, culture mismatch, broken legacy processes, and complete lack of internal training. We already talked about the skill issue. You don't need a better AI tool. There's a ton of AI tools right now. You just need someone to connect the tool to the humans. And in fact, I think we did this a couple of weeks ago. There's a lot of already software tools that have AI agents built into them, like HubSpot. What was the other one? Descript. There's all these other companies that already have AI agents built inside. We just don't know, and we don't use them. And so again, that comes back to humans being in the middle of it. So this is what the AI transformation specialist is. Automation makes employees, fear robots. Transformation signals org-wide evolution. So chief automation officer, head of AI, internal operator, they all kind of lose to the AI transformation specialist. And why? Because the mission of the AI transformation specialist, it's one person who walks into every department, finds inefficient, repetitive manual work, and systematically kills it with AI. They're a cross-functional SWAT team for inefficiency. So they audit, deploy, train, and maintain. So what do you
AI executioner.
Any thoughts so far before I move on? Because I want to get through it, and then
I just got a real good visual. That's all.
What?
I feel like you should just go through it, and then
Okay.
we'll keep our stuff for the end. Otherwise, we might be here till tomorrow.
I know. All right. Role definition.
Shade.
The operator versus the researcher. You know, this is my week's. It's my spot. Like, I like being on time and finish on time. So like I'm trying to get through this. The operator versus the researcher. So researchers right now, they will write you 100-page strategy decks. They will show you everything that you can do. They build machine learning models from scratch. They run open-ended AI research experiments. It's just what they're researching things. The operator is the daily execution, and they audit, they ship, they train, and they maintain. So that is the biggest difference, and that is why companies now are on this train of getting the actual operator versus strategists or whatever, researchers or whatever you want to call them. So the specialist kind of sits in the middle of all these departments within the company, and the key unlock, they don't sit in IT. They act as a connective tissue across the entire organization. And most companies buy AI tools per department, creating isolated silos of unused software. The transformation specialist connects disparate workflows into single intelligent system. These are some of the examples that I found so far from the transformation agents or AI transformation specialists. So they actually use ROI. They talk about hours saved. They talked about, what happened with their answering the calls, answering the emails. So the biggest thing about what I see about this role, they use a lot of numbers when they talk about what they've done and what they actually shipped and created versus pie in the sky possibility of what could be. So things were like save 20 hours a week, call answer rate jumped from 60 to 98%. They added revenue. Email replies dropped from 18 hours to 2 minutes. Cart recovery went up by 15 points. So the equivalent of 3.5 extra headcount realized. So again, all of this to me is action plus some kind of measurable outcome. So that's the biggest thing about this kind of hire is they show you the proof. The aggregate baseline, well, obviously it's good, time recaptured, cost reduction, process compression. Those are the things that are my love language, is the metrics, the KPIs, the numbers. You actually see the actual performance going up. And we all know about the AI technical debt trap, right? So a lot of cool demos and vibe coded products die in a couple months. And if you hire isn't production minded, you get dozens of undocumented automations, and then they break the second OpenAI or Anthropic updates their model. So you need evaluation frameworks and testing.
That's one of the traps of AI. You can produce a whole lot of stuff. Unfortunately, if you produce a whole lot of stuff, no matter what you're producing these days, you want to be producing a system, a pattern, a procedure. Those things have to be documented at the same time. Yeah. Everybody who's really good with AI is not only vibe coding the thing, they're also vibe coding the documentation for the thing and having to rigorously update that and ensure that it works. Otherwise, you have nothing. You have a big mess.
Right. So in this case, credentials don't really matter. Capabilities matter here. So a cautionary tale, if you hire a FANG engineer at a huge salary, 3 years in meetings, reviewing code, impressive resume, but they actually shipped 0. And that's not really good for you, versus you get somebody who actually ships workflows the same day, prioritizes adaptability, and focuses entirely on business context and ROI, and tests what they built today, not what they worked 3 years ago. So these people, and like Cody said in her tweet or post, he doesn't care about the title. That was an interesting thing for me. He just cares about shipping. So that's a big kind of gap between what we think we used to want in the past, which is past experience, to now, how do you actually prove what you're doing? How does it connect to the operational scorecard? I mean, it's pretty easy. We talked about this, right? Adoption rate, dollar savings. They are talking about the real things that matter in small business or medium business or any business, I guess, is what happens to the actual results. And AI skills premium is exactly 28%. Here's the market clearing price. For a small company, so basically you can have a full-time hire, right? Somebody for small business, they cost between 80 and 120 based on the research. But mid-market company, AI transformation specialist goes about 120 to 175,000. And enterprise, the price goes up. You can get a fractional chief AI, whatever, officer or transformation person.
CAIO.
Whatever. It's just too many abbreviations. The cost there is different kind of cost. It's perfect for sub 20-person companies feeling pressure but not ready for a full-time person. This is another good way for them to get somebody on board. And path C is a task force agency, 60 to 90-day external sprints. So there's already agencies like Crescent AI or Highlane Partners that deploy an external SWAT team to ship specific workflows. So this goes back to your point of outcome-based
I have so many thoughts. I'm just sitting on them.
Let's hear some.
Yep. No. Well.
Okay.
No, because I don't have a hard stop. Maybe you guys have a hard stop.
Yeah. So build it yourself. You can do it. So basically your 3 paths forward, build it yourself, the bootstrap. This is where you start with your 3 biggest time sinks. Use Claude Code to build the one fix at a time. We'll talk to Lauren about this. Buy the leverage, the CEO path, hire fractional operator, and become the connective tissue. So if you are trying to figure out what to do, this is literally, if you're really loving AI, you could become this person who comes in and does this for companies. Anyway, the companies that deploy this function today will operate as if they have twice the headcount. Everyone else will wonder how they're moving so fast. This is the superpower. In the end,
I think that's supposed to read, will operate as if they had half the headcount.
Well, basically, if you're using AI, you have more headcount than ever. I just got through it. You guys could read the whole thing. The whole point is it's a new role. It's focused heavily on the outcomes. It's focused heavily on what you can actually do to improve the bottom line. And now, Lauren, what are your thoughts?
Okay. Amazing. I love this. So I said this before, I'm going to say it again. One high agency person with a full AI stack can now outperform a team of 5. And the best hire is someone who can direct AI, not just do tasks. But I think the thing that this is illustrating is AI frees your best people from the BS that's bogging them down to actually move the needle. And so I love this. And I have some thoughts about, well, I have 2 thoughts primarily. One, if you're sitting here going, oh, damn, we need that, but we don't have a 6-figure profit margin to hire someone, I'm going to give you a shortcut to do this in real life without having to hire that person right now. And then the second thing is, while this is great, the thing that I see as the gap here is somebody in the company needs to still be the conductor and the triager. Mm-hmm. Because to Chris's point, you can build so much shit, but with everything you build, there's a cost, right? It's either resources, time, getting people onboarded, etc. And so if you don't have somebody that's actually looking at the whole of the business and saying, great, we can take this off the plate, but what's the bigger business impact? Because the thing that I always do with my clients is I lovingly nod with them when they're telling me the symptoms of what is going on. Yeah. But I don't stop there. I go to the root. And I think where AI and building out these workflows and where this person, if they don't have the person that I'm describing working with them, is going to fall on their face, is they're going to build workflows for things that aren't the root problem. And I think that that's the thing that I'm like, this is a great position that you should have. but you still need to have somebody that's actually looking at the ideas of what we're removing friction from and saying, yes, this is the priority for the next 2-week sprint or whatnot.
Right.
And so to that point, if you're like, this sounds great, I don't have 6 figures to go hire this person, what you can do is what I actually talked to one of my clients about just yesterday. It's Friction Friday or Frustration Friday, whatever you want to call it, where essentially you train your team to look for friction points. Because the thing that I recognize with a lot of my clients and a lot of business owners is we think we know the problem, but if it's not actually at the level that the problem happens, we're not doing a good job of actually getting to the root. So if you have your team every Friday surface 2 or 3 or 5, depends on the week, frustrations they have about their role, they're actually going to tell you the weak points in their workflows. They're going to tell you what threats and interdependencies that maybe you miss. And so if you get your team to start thinking about how can we improve this together? How can I remove friction points in your day-to-day so that you can actually do the things that I need your institutional knowledge, critical thinking, etc. for? That's going to help with the other thing, because you said 80-20, like the 80-20 slide, if you go back to that, that is true across the board out of AI too. When you implement something new in your business, 80% of those things fail because you didn't get the opt-in. You didn't show how this is solving a pain point for them, and you didn't get them to help you do it.
Yeah. Are you talking about this one?
Yes.
The 80-20 people. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of times we're well-intentioned to build stuff for our team, but we forget to actually ask our team, is this something that you want, that you'll use, that will make it easier? Because we think it might, but the people who are actually doing the work, sometimes we completely skip over them until we've decided. And so my best advice and what I do with my clients is really start getting your team to start thinking about, what's my 80-20%? Like if I only do this 20% that produces 80%, how can I offload that 80% or make it easier? Because I used to tell my clients, every department should have a VA. Now, granted, I work mostly with small businesses, so they have less than 200 people, sometimes more, but mostly less than 200. So every department should have a VA to take off the administrative drag. Now, I tell everyone, every member of your team should have at least 5 agents that are taking off those administrative things that they shouldn't be doing.
Yep.
And so I love this. I absolutely think the hires of tomorrow will be the people who can work with AI. And if you want to implement this in your business now without going and hiring somebody, you have to get everybody aligned that it is okay to illuminate the friction and frustration points and use AI. And the story I want to give you is, I don't know if you guys know this, but something Google did early on is one Friday a month, they would let you build whatever you wanted. It was like Pet Project Friday.
Yeah.
And Gmail was one of those pet projects.
Yep.
They were like AOL sucks, MSN, Yahoo, which I still can't hear without them saying like Yahoo. Anyway, I digress.
Advertising goes hard.
Right? I'm like, this was 25 years ago and I can't stop hearing it.
Yep. By the way, are you good for another 15 minutes? I want to be respectful of your time.
I'm good. Okay. I'm good. So the point is that businesses who let their people dabble and let their people create without this like fear of constriction. Now, I'm not saying you should just give them carte blanche. Like you need to have good rules of like, hey, we're not going to do things that if it ended up on the front page of the New York Times, we would be upset. Like, here's some rules. But the point of this is when you let your
Have some
people
guardrails, right?
Right. When you let your people dabble, you will be amazed at the problems they solve without you. And so if you don't have this capacity to hire for this person right now, or honestly, it'll probably take 30 days to hire anyway.
Yeah.
Look in your organization and see who your dabblers are and let them be your AI person. At least in
CDO,
the interim.
Chief Dabbling Officer.
Oh my God. Yes. Let's make that a thing. Because again, back to the triaging, like this is something that I don't want anybody to sleep on. Like improving workflows is literally what gets me so excited. Like I spend my day perfecting things. Like that's really
That's
like,
what this is about, right? I mean,
right. Exactly.
It's tinker. And here's the deal. When I was looking at the job descriptions for people like hiring for this, what they all had in common was like day-to-day responsibilities were like what you were saying, audit every department for repetitive manual work, like what people actually spend their time doing, like follow up, AI, HR screening, invoice processing, customer support, data entry. Then builds and ships fixes fast. So AI agents, workflow automations, custom prompts, you do that stuff. And then you train people and teams to actually use the tools, not just show them how to do it, actually train them how to do it. And then set up monitoring so the automations don't break. And then track and report hours saved and dollars saved every week. So that was like across the board, a very common thing in all those job descriptions or ads out there. Yeah. And it's exactly what you were saying, right? So it's used to be super boring, but now we have this AI thing that makes it fun because like how much can I delegate to my, minions over there? They can just go and do all this work. But you start with CEOs usually, right? Mm-hmm. And then I don't know if you can, but like what do you usually do with them? So you're actually working with people that run companies and they talk about AI. I know you came and talked to EO people. EO is like, that's the hottest thing right now for EO is AI. And so, but they're also running their businesses and it's a full-time job just to keep up with AI. Ask me how I know. And so what do you do? What's your, I don't know if you can share, like, what's the actual practical application?
I love this.
Yeah.
I love this question. So most of my clients, right, they're 7 or 8 figure businesses that are successful, but the business owner is trapped in the minutia of busy. Like they've just got all the firefighting, all the reactivity. So what I'm known for is, again, because I'm the biz doctor, I come in and I diagnose and I look at your 3 things: your people, your processes, your profitability, and your leadership. From there, to your point, one of the biggest impediments, however you say it, to having a business that works for you is understanding the business that you want. So most of the time, my business owners started a business to solve a problem, woke up and they were like, oh, I have a business. But didn't really actually ever take the time to rethink, what kind of business do I want? To Chris's point from earlier, a $10 million business making $3 million in profit is very different from a $5 million business making $3 million in profit. Same profit, different business.
Lot less problems.
So a lot of the work that I do is reorienting the business owner to what they actually want and giving them that breath to take some time and actually create capacity. And a lot of the ways that I used to create capacity for my clients was through leverage. And the way that you create leverage outside of this conversation used to be systems and headcount. Now, headcount has tremendous step costs that most business owners don't think about. It's not just the $100,000 paycheck. It's the benefits. It's the onboarding.
Oh, I can tell you all the other ones if you want me to list them.
Exactly. Right? And so what we're doing is we're actually auditing your whole business to say, does this business actually fit what you want moving forward? What is your exit plan? What is your plan for, is it a lifestyle? Is it a legacy business? Is it an enterprise business? all the things. But more than that, more than anything, the entire ethos of all the work that I do with my clients is giving them freedom. And I have never, in my 15 years of doing this, been more excited about the freedom that AI gives my clients, because
Yes.
it's not like, I did this post on LinkedIn yesterday. It's not the things that take you 2 hours that are killing you in your business. It's actually a rat infestation. And the rat is repetitive, annoying, time-consuming things. It's the 5-minute paper cuts that if you compound that 5 minutes every day, it equals a month of your time that's just out the window.
Yeah.
And
You're good
so,
at these acronyms, by the way.
thank you. I try. Actually, I can take no credit for that. Actually, my friend Blake Eastman made that one up.
You're good.
Anyway, so, but the point of this is, when I look at AI, what excites me the most with my clients is when you start trapping those rats, when you start offloading those 5-minute things, the amount of mental drag that frees up, so you have the capacity to think better, more clearly, solve more problems, have more time, have more fun. Maybe, I don't know, go take a vacation without checking Slack 5 times a day. That's what the potential of AI is. Yes, it's moving really fast, but if you leverage it in the right way, it can actually, like my friend Blake that I just mentioned, he took his company from 12 people to 1. Now he's going to hire back.
Oh, the dream.
Probably a couple people.
Chris.
Right? But that's what's so exciting about this is, I've always been about lean, profitable businesses, but this is like that times a million.
Yeah. Well, hold on. So
there's
now,
a magic. Okay, you go ahead, Olga. I got a
so
magic moment
the
after
question is, like, I want to know, like, what are the top 3 rats that you see across like the board? Like, is there such a thing, or does every business have their own common rats that they can figure it out?
I mean, they're a little bit different for everybody, but I think the one that gets everybody is, it's not necessarily one rat. It's this rat mindset of, somebody comes to you, and instead of you teaching them how to do that 5-minute thing, you say to yourself, it's just faster if I do it. That is probably the single biggest rat in any business, is you're not thinking about the fact that they're coming to you to ask a question or do something.
Right.
That does take you 5 minutes. It's that they've interrupted your workflow. Now you're doing this. Now you're doing that. And that 5-minute thing that you could take 30, 40, an hour, whatever it is, and teach someone how to do that 5-minute thing that just would be faster if you did it. That's, I think, one of the biggest rats that I
love that. That is the rat for sure.
And
I have that rat.
How do you identify that? Like, do you create an agent for that, or do you just, like, what do you do with that with AI? Like, what do you typically, how do you help them solve that with AI?
So with that, this is actually like a couple of things. This is a very spicy take. I actually do this in one of my keynotes, but essentially I'm like, if your team is not autonomous, it's your fault, because you're enabling your team.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 3 rules.
I hate when it gets pointed back on me.
I know, right? Damn it. I have 3 rules that I give all of my clients. The first is the rule of 3, because the thing that is really hard for my clients is, and this is the leadership and identity piece that I didn't really talk about, but when your sense of value and purpose and identity is tied to the doing in your business, the solving the problems, the feeling needed, it's really hard to delegate anything, right? Because it's like an existential crisis.
I'm important. I have a big crown.
I'm important. I know how to solve this. It's me, right?
Yeah. Woohoo. Superpower.
So the first one is rule of 3. You can come ask me or some senior leader if you've done 3 things. You've Googled it, which is now ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever.
Yeah.
You've looked in their knowledge base, or you've asked a sideline person. If you cannot, for the life of you, answer whatever question it is, come to me, because that means we have some sort of gap in our training and our expertise, and we will figure it out.
Love
That's
it.
one. The second is the 1-3-1 rule. And this is why I'm so, I don't know, this is probably why my soapbox about doing upfront work is so big, is because one problem clearly defined is half solved. And I think we spend so much of our days in business solving the wrong problem. So the 1-3-1 rule is one problem clearly defined, 3 possible solutions, and 1 recommendation. This does double duty. One, it's training my team to come to me with solutions, not just problems. Because the reason your team comes to you is because they know you're going to solve the problem and they don't have to think.
Yep.
Stop it. So they're coming to you.
Parenting too. It's parenting as well. Yep.
Yes. So they're coming to you and you're seeing, are their solutions the solution I would have? Maybe, maybe not. But that's going to show you, do they understand their role? Do they understand how to logic, problem solve, etc.? Is there a gap there? So it serves a lot of purposes to see how they're thinking about solving the problem. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is the see one, do one, teach one. And this is probably the hardest one. I think probably the single biggest thing that I solve for my clients that's the hardest is getting all of the institutional knowledge out of their brain. Because the single biggest concentrated risk in most of my clients' businesses is the business owner.
Yeah.
So see one, do one, teach one is what I stole from the medical field. This is essentially how I learned to draw blood. He did it. Then he was like, here you go. You're going to do the next one. Anyway, I digress. But when you do see one, do one, teach one, you actually onboard and train people in parallel. Because one of my favorite tools is a Loom. It's a great tool where you can screen record. So if I'm offloading something, I'll go record a Loom, talk my way through it, give it to them so they've seen it. They're going to create an SOP document to 80% based on what they've seen. Then I'm going to watch them do it, see where the gaps are, see where, oh, maybe I need to give more context to that. Maybe I didn't explain that, etc. Then we train better. And then you know they got it when they can explain it to someone else. So those 3 things. And then, of course, the question of, and this is really hard, but when somebody comes to you, one of my favorite things to ask is, do you want me to listen or you want me to support? Because sometimes our people come to us because they just want to vent. You don't actually need to solve anything. They're just telling you what's going on. But sometimes you do need to solve something. And if you do need to solve something, the second question is, what do you think we should do?
Right. So bringing that back to AI, sounds like all those steps you can start training either your GPTs or your Claude and Claude code and all of that stuff, and then sort of start putting that all in perspective. Like I know Loom, I just signed up. They do have an AI agent inside where you record the video, you can create the manual, you can create anything you want after you've got the video. So like, is that the kind of the next step is to use AI to record that knowledge and then train your people on kind of how to do this? Like what's your next step?
Yes. The next step is actually to create a knowledge base. So when you have all of these resources, one of the single biggest things that I see happen is you go through all this work, you create all these policies and procedures, and then no one uses them. Yeah. Or they kind of use them or they can't find them because we named them something weird. And then they're like, I don't know where this is. So if you do this in a logical way where you have all of these resources in one place, you could, in theory, have an agent that is helping them find the answers. And then the next logical step is, how do we have a pocket Olga or a pocket Chris or a pocket Lauren and have it be our brain outside our body to think like us.
Gotcha. So to start wrapping this up, because I know we're way over time and I'm so grateful for you to come here, and I should have set your expectations. But
okay. I love talking about this.
I really appreciate you doing all of this. But to start wrapping this up, what do you think? What do you wish I asked you about all of this and the transformation, AI transformation, and what you do kind of as a major takeaway that maybe we didn't talk about that you wanted people to kind of know?
I would say that it's probably, what do I do if I've been dabbling, but I still don't know where to start? And this is a lot about what I talk about in my workshop that's next week. But I see a lot of people get stuck with AI because they're overwhelmed with all the possibilities that they're just not sure where to start or how to separate the chaos from the signal. And so when it comes to thinking about AI and maybe graduating from dabbling to actually building workflows and agents, my best advice for where to start is don't try to learn all the things. Go get really good at one platform. Go get really good at prompting. And then pick something from your rat list that you're like, if I never had to do this again, this would free me up to do X. Because I think the burden of busy is it gives us a false sense of productivity. But in reality, we're just doing a lot of running in place. So if you don't know where to start, just go get really intimate with Claude. Go fuck around and find out, right?
Spicy.
Sorry. Yeah, that's what I would say.
And you just said it so perfectly. It's about your goals, your context, what you want to do, and then use AI, Claude, ChatGPT, doesn't matter, to start lining up like, hey, I hate doing this. Figure out how do I not do this anymore. So that's kind of how you start. And then yes, you do have a workshop coming up. It's next week, right? So if anyone here loves what they're hearing, Lauren is your girl. You can find her on LinkedIn, Lauren Goldstein. She's over there. I've tagged her in all kinds of things. So come watch Lauren. She knows what she's doing. Chris, do you have a big takeaway? We're gonna skip funding because I gotta wrap this up.
Yeah, we're not gonna have that kind of funding, but we are gonna have this kind of funding. So earlier we looked at this thing that Google Stitch made, this website, 4 templates. Yeah. All right. So while we were doing this, I decided to try and cook this with my page motor design skill.
Oh no!
Here's what we got.
This is a real website?
This is a real working website. So it's
actually pretty good.
It included all the pictures and everything, but hold on, wait, there's more. We've got our menu. Let me get rid of it.
Wait, you just prototyped this and then now it's live?
Yeah, it's already working using the new design skill, which handles extra templates and stuff.
Wow.
Amazing.
So it's pretty cool. See if the in-page navigation works.
You like Stitch, huh?
And then we go to about, I don't know, this is the first time messing with it. The about page, it did this special template for this.
Nice.
Looking pretty good. And hold on, we have our local SEO page with contact and a map. It didn't do the map. I could just replace it with an actual map, but interesting result.
This is what happens when you tinker.
Do you know what I love about this though?
Yeah, you go ahead.
I love that this is an MVP, right? Is it perfect? No. But if you can get over it's okay to be messy and deploy something that's not perfect, this is an incredible first version.
And it's already live. You can put it up there and you're ahead of most of the coffee shop owners that are out there. Incredible.
100%.
Well, listen, my takeaway from the show today was actually listening to you, Lauren, talk about the reality of AI state. Because here we talk about big companies and this and this and this and this, but at the end of the day, hearing that a lot of people are still trying to figure out where do you start? A lot of these business owners and CEOs, big companies running big things, don't have the time to spend and tinker and do all of that stuff. And so hearing the real life, because a lot of times on X, I feel like we live in the high speed, reality over there, and coming back to reality and be like, okay, most people are still just trying to figure out how do I start using that? So kind of getting the reality check from you was amazingly helpful today. And then I just love the way you think. We would love to have you back. Whenever you want to come back, we'd love to have you back and kind of talk more about AI and how to actually implement in the real life. So unless you have, do you have anything else to say besides come check you out on LinkedIn and join your workshop?
I mean, I think the only thing I have to say is don't be afraid to just get in there. I hate trial and error. Like I hate it. Unfortunately, my human design, I do not like being bad at anything or feeling imperfect. I'm a recovering perfectionist, but just do it. Like be okay and do it messy, because you will be so far ahead of people by doing it wrong and knowing the intricacies of how it works than if you just sit on the sideline till OpenClaw is out of the box and set up.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for coming here. Chris, do you have anything else to say to wrap this up?
I think we covered the bases.
Lauren,
this is an interesting topic because this is sort of the emergent thing.
You were incredible. What?
This is an interesting topic for everybody because you're going to interface with this one way or another.
And you just vibe coded a website that's actually real. That's amazing.
Yeah.
While running a show. It wasn't even my primary thing I was doing.
Well, I can talk about this forever, but thanks, Lauren, for being here. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you. And everybody go find Lauren on LinkedIn or X. You're also on X. Talk to you later.
See you guys.
Bye.